Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to embark on a journey into the heart of AI networking with our guest, Shirley Wu. We're going to dive into her insights about Marvis, the new iteration with Marvis Minis, and much more. Shirley, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Jessica. It's a great pleasure to be here. So my name is Shirley Wu. I started Mist for Juniper for last 5 years, right? So I'm lead the Mist Marvis team, and I'm a senior director. So for the last 5 years, we had a great journey with Marvis and AI, of course. But now, it's a great question for me to look back for my career. And actually just realized that my career growth and the development path is somehow totally aligned with the industry growth. So I remember when I first finished my master's degree in computer science, I did spend quite a few years to find my passion and the direction where I want to be, what I wanted to do. Even though I'm, have a daytime job in the software development industry. So really critical moment for me is that I decided to jump into the startup. So the first ever startup company I ever joined was in a data analytics space. So we're trying to use consumer data to find the customer insights to predict the customer churn. At that time, that was before the big data, AI, ML became a buzzword. So we have quite a lot of challenges to deal with the data volume and how we are going to apply very accurate statistical algorithms to predict the customer churn. Yeah. So then the other company had a very successful acquisition. So after the acquisition, I'm kind of reevaluating my career, where I want to be, what I want to do. So at the same time that the big data, Hadoop, and also cloud computing became the buzzword and totally revolutionized the software development industry. Yeah. So at the moment, I also starting to my second startup. I joined a very early stage startup in cybersecurity. Okay. But even though the business problem is different, but the technology behind is totally different. We utilize cloud computing and big data tools. We're trying to identify abnormal user behaviors to identify cybersecurity threats. Okay. So that was a really exciting journey. Utilize AI and the big data to solve the problem, which is very traditional in the cybersecurity space, right? Yeah. So that company also had a very, quite exciting journey after the acquisition. Then, time rolling to the Mist. So at the moment, the same thing that, the big data actually came to another chapter is a very mature space. Yeah. So people trying to utilize data, cloud computing, AI, trying to revolutionize the traditional space like networking. So that's why I came to the moment I joined the Mist. And the mission is utilize our cloud infrastructure, data, and AI. How can we revolutionize the networking operation? So that's the journey I came from. So I believe the really critical moment for me is to have a guts to find your passion, find whatever you believe, and trying to utilize the data to solve the problem.
So we know that Juniper's customers love and use Marvis, part of Juniper's AI native networking platform. Can you give us an overview of maybe the top 2 or 3 features of the platform?
So Marvis actually is a buzzword, represent a lot of things. But the core of the Marvis, I could think about, right, as of today is actually 2 or 3 things. First is Marvis is not more than one piece of software sits in the cloud, continues to sift through the stats and events streamed into the cloud from Juniper cloud managed devices. So I will go through the live data stream we can close to near real time, be able to detect problems on the customer's network. So this is the one that we can have we don't need the network administrators continuously monitor their network. We can utilize our data in the cloud to help the customer to monitor the network operations. This is a fundamental key difference compared to traditional networking companies and vendors. So second important feature is Marvis not just to detect the problems, we also can identify the root cause of the problem. If the problem is self-fixable, Marvis will fix it. But if the problem Marvis cannot fix, they will create the recommendations and send a webhook email notification to the customer to how to address this issue. So this is the fundamental two features. But in the recent news release, you probably heard about the Marvis Mini. This is another great feature for Marvis that we release a feature be able to automate self-diagnostic analysis and be able to generate a report so that we can find the problems before humans encounter them for our customer.
So you just spoke about Marvis Minis, which is one of the newer features. How have you seen Marvis evolve over time?
When I first joined the Mist and the Juniper early days, that the Marvis just be able to answer simple questions like we call the virtual network assistant. So we collect the stats, events, we build the time series, and we can answer very limited user queries. That's early day Marvis. So when we joined the build the Marvis team, we spent a significant chunk of our resources to develop the Marvis platform, which be able to streaming through the live data to identify the problem abnormal behaviors about the network, and also identify the events and generate the root causes. So this is a Marvis event action framework we developed on the cloud. So this is the second phase of the Marvis. Now, the third is, we based on the detected events actions, we developed a self remediation framework and also self-optimization framework. Another one is the latest Marvis Mini. We're talking about the self-diagnostic framework. So this is a Marvis roadmap we have so far.
So you talked about like the different layers there, right? And at the beginning of it was the data, which is where your interest mostly lies. So what are the foundational technologies in terms of the data piece of it that Marvis uses?
So you brought another good question. Typically, people talk about Marvis is, hey, the data science team, Marvis team. So I feel very embarrassed that actually, yes, we as a Marvis team, data scientists and machine learning engineers, we contribute a lot to Marvis' success. But on top of that, actually, we have a lot of engineers. They are working on the cloud infrastructure. But most importantly, our firmware and hardware teams, they are the core to make sure our devices be able to generate meaningful, accurate data. That data is a source for Marvis' success. So for Marvis, one hand is a lot of softwares, infrastructure we build on the cloud. On top of that is human. Human is, data scientists, machine learning engineers. But on top of that, we also have our cloud infrastructure engineers and the most important domain experts and our AP hardware, switch and SD-WAN hardware software engineers collectively work together to develop the intelligence for the Marvis.
So you just kind of talked about all the different teams that it takes to create Marvis. Can you give us a little bit more about how it works from the AI perspective?
So typically for Marvis, we start actually from customer support tickets. So when customer open the support tickets, we go through that tickets with our SysQA team, identifies certain SysQA tickets. Actually, Marvis has already have an answer. For those Marvis does not have an answer, we work together with our domain experts, trying to identify that issue. First of all, do we have the data in the cloud? Can I capture that type of behavior or problem? Second, if we do, then we will have multiple working sessions with our domain experts. The working session, of course, we are the data science team and machine learning engineers working with our domain experts. We share our data analysis results with them. And based on this recommendation, we continue to fine-tune our data analysis results and apply that analysis to Miss Universe, we generally call the Miss Universe, which including our multiple cloud production environments to validate the results. And based on the validation results, then we decide this is from machine learning perspective, this is the classification problem or is a prediction problem. Then we can decide what type of machine learning algorithms we want to use. And on top of that, we have to evaluate the cloud computation cost and the latency. How if we're going to put in the streaming or put in the platform, the batch process to do this to implement this use case. How much of the latency we can tolerate, and how much of the cloud cost, and of course, most importantly, is how difficult to debug this issue if we deploy in certain environments. Actually, we may not be able to have access, like Gov Cloud environments, right? So based on all this factor, we kind of finalize our implementation. Then we deploy the solution to the cloud. Then we are not making customer facing. We continuously validate results with our domain experts, and also trying to validate our cases with friendly customers until we achieve a certain confidence level. This solution can apply to Miss Universe. Doesn't matter if it's GCP or in the AWS. Doesn't matter you're a retail customer or university campuses. We make sure our solution is able to adapt to different environments. Then we'll make it customer-facing features. So this is kind of general that the development cycle we have for any Marvis solutions. So it's not generally just hey, AI, ML about the data. A lot of interactions with the domain experts continues to validate with the customer use cases and their specific environments. So this is kind of the journey of a Marvis, that how we gain the confidence from our customer. It's not just the data scientists that crunch the numbers, get the statistical results. A lot of times we realize that statistics accuracy may not represent the real world true scenarios.
So you just mentioned some machine learning algorithms. Can you go into how Marvis uses them for troubleshooting?
So Marvis utilizes multiple machine learning algorithms like the decision tree, logistic regression, LSTM, just a few, right? XGBoosts and the Sharply. Those are all the different techniques inside the ML AI. So I can give you a specific one example, like how we utilize LSTM, that's the neural networks to do the anomaly detection. So why we want to use neural networks, such a complex approach to do the anomaly detection? The reason is that we want to be able to capture the seasonality. Think about it, if you're university campuses, so during the weekend versus weekday, during the summer break versus normal school hours, the number of Wi-Fi devices is different. So the behavior activity on your campus is different. In order to identify anomaly, that we need the machine learning model is sophisticated enough to identify the regular pattern, because it's weekend versus during the normal school days. So that's why we utilize LSTM, which also utilize more than 2 months of data as training data, so we can identify enough patterns for your weekend versus weekday. Then we use that model to continue to predict what's going to be the next hour that the errors, events occurred on your network. If anything is deviate from our prediction, we'll identify that as anomaly. So this is kind of just one of high-level introduction about how we want to use LSTM to do the anomaly detection, so that when we identify anomaly, so we can report to customer, we can show the supporting evidence based on your last 6 weeks of data. We can show you your behavior pattern, but as of today, your behavior is different. So we have a timeline to show you the supporting evidence to tell you something not right on your network. And we also doing the mutual information, identify this anomaly mostly come from the particular DHCP server or could come from a particular WLAN, so that it saves the time for the customers and administrators to troubleshooting the issue. We can pinpoint the specific domain of the problem, so it's easier for them to find the root cause.
Can you talk a little bit about Marvis Actions UI, otherwise known as the beloved Octopus?
So I wish we have a better name for the Octopus UI. So yes, that's a Marvis Action page. That's a key differentiator compare Juniper with our competitors. Marvis Action page provides a highly focused view about the customer's orgs, what's their top issues. So for their administrator, they should just look at the Marvis Action page to identify the issues that they need to fix. And also in the same page, we provide the recommended actions and also supporting evidence. So from our customers' network administrators, they don't need to do the debugging to SSH into the device and capture the PCAPs, slicing, dicing the data to find the problem, and find what's the problem, what's the solution. We have the single point of view, giving all the answers they need. Yeah. Second, we reduce the noise. We don't show them tons of graph, tables, line charts for them to compare the notes. Here, and also the answers, we make sure the Marvis Action is at the manageable level. So even though you're managing thousands of stores for retail customer versus thousands of AP of the university campus, we make sure Marvis Action is only manageable by the network administrators. Mm-hmm. So this is a key differentiator. We reduce the noise, make the network administrators really focus on the issues raised in the Marvis Action page.
So that's a great example about how visibility is such a big part of the Marvis solution. So I want to say thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate all the knowledge that you brought to us, Shirley.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, Jessica.
And thank you for listening. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode.